Welcome back to the Go M.A.D podcast. I am your host, Christopher. Thank you guys once again so much for listening. I want to just take this time to thank you all for taking out time to tune into this podcast and to invest in yourself and invest in your growth, because even if I'm not perfect or the best person to listen to, I know that if you're listening to this, it's because you're seeking to be better. You're seeking to grow. And if I don't provide enough information, that you can find that elsewhere. I'm satisfied enough knowing that you are seeking to be better, because that is the key to growth. That is the key to being your best self, being curious and wanting to seek more. So I thank you guys so much for the support of listening to this podcast and wanting to make a difference in yourself, so that we can go out and make the difference in everyone else's life. So in today's lesson, I was just taking down notes. And wow, like, I don't even know how to explain it. There's many episodes here and there that I have where, like, there are episodes that sometimes it takes me a while to kind of think about and like prepare the notes and everything. And then there's sometimes other episodes that it's just like out of nowhere that my hands just starts going crazy, goes off. And that's what today's lesson was about. I just had one thought in my mind, and I didn't know really where to go with it. And then I just like decided, I was like, all right, I'm gonna just let it all out on paper. And I just started writing and writing and writing. I was like, whoa. And I had to organize everything because it was crazy and it was intense. And there's a huge factor when it comes to being able to be in our best self, especially in this season. As you guys have known, how I have talked over the last few episodes in this season of how important it is to be consistent. And I just started to, and I kept thinking about different factors of, in order for me to know how I can be my best self, or see the result of being my best self, I look towards those who have been successful and who have gotten to the point where I would want to be. And there's many different leaders that I look towards, and probably the greatest leader of all that I mentioned many times is Jesus. And me personally, like, I look at, what steps did they take, what kind of things did they do different. And I do this because I have the intention to want to see, like, how can I be better? What else can I do to improve? Because there's no such thing as you just reaching like a certain field, and then that's it, like, you're good. Like, there's no such thing as you're at a certain point and then you're there and it's like, all right, I'm good now. I'm good to chillax until the day I die. Like, that doesn't exist. Like, there's no retirement. There's no stopping phase, because if you're doing something that you're passionate about, then there's no end. There shouldn't be an end, because if it ends, then what are you going to be passionate about, right? If you're seeking to find your passion and grow in it, then that's like a life thing. That's a lifetime thing. Even if you spend a lifetime just doing it as a side hobby, or as something you do on the side for fun, it doesn't matter. If you love to do it, then obviously it will never end, because it's what you love to do. Why would you give up something that you love to do, right? So all in this, I'm just trying to say, I've been just thinking of those different factors, and something that I realized that's so important that I mentioned, with my team that I have, in a time where I noticed that it was difficult, because for my team, I would expect certain results. I would want certain things, and I would, want better, bigger things for the team, and the results just never showed. And my most important goal was for them to stay committed, to be committed to what they were doing. And my two words that I always told my team that was important, that I wanted them to follow through with, is that I wanted them to be committed and be consistent. Those are, to me, like, the two most important things, like, to help you be better, is learning to commit and learning to be consistent. And I've already talked about how to be consistent here in this season, how to keep going and keep moving forward. And today I kind of wanted to take the time to talk about commitment and what that takes. And diving deeper into that word, I want to talk about discipline. And I kept thinking about, like, how did I develop self-discipline? And I was thinking in my life, as I talked about my testimony and talked about my story, I mentioned how I was at a certain point where I had nothing and I depended too much on other people and other resources. And I wanted to turn that around for it so that it's me, and that I could build a habit, which I did build the habit of behind the curtains working on myself. And, behind closed doors, when no one is looking, when I don't need to, be prideful or show myself off to other people, or, boast about my actions and what I'm doing, that behind the curtains, from within, from inside, I can commit to myself to being better and stick to that. And over time, as I developed that habit, now it's just like a normal thing for me. It's a normal thing now for me to, within closed doors, from the inside, to aim to be my best self and grow from within. And that takes self-discipline. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, is how we can develop self-discipline. Such a powerful thing to talk about, because it's something that we will need in this season as well. As we're continuing to grow, as we're continuing to get better, we need to build the self-discipline so that we learn how to commit even when we don't feel like doing things. And in order for us to know how we can develop self-discipline, I had to ask myself, like, wait, what exactly is discipline in the first place? And I looked up the definition, and it really impacted me. Like when I looked it up, this discipline, and this is just the straight up definition. Discipline is the practice of training other people to obey rules or behavior, using punishment to correct disobedience. So I read that and I was like, well, damn. And I was like, everything's there. Everything is in that definition, right? So I read that and I decided to change the part where it says training other people towards ourselves, which is why I'm talking about self-discipline. So then if you change other people to yourself, the definition then would be the practice of training yourself to obey rules or behavior and using punishment to correct disobedience. So there's little key words in that definition that I want to break apart today, to talk about. And the very first word or first phrase in that definition that I want to break down is practice training yourself. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. Practice training yourself. So what does that mean? So practice in itself, for those who are athletes or those who are in sports, practice means you're going out somewhere, you're going to a facility, to the courts, whatever it is. You're going there to work on your team, right? To get better, do some drills, work on your physical self, to build that endurance, build that agility, do a few exercises to kind of help you memorize certain plays that you want to your team to execute, right? So and practice is never a one-time thing. And it's so funny that we think sometimes that when we're investing in ourselves, or when we're trying to grow, that we think that is just a one-time transaction. Like we think that is just like, all right, I'm gonna read this book, and then you finish reading that book, and you think that's it. You've got everything you've got in life. Or you go to one conference to learn something, or you go to one place to do something one time, or you try something one time, and then you think that's it. And that's not what practice is. Imagine if you, for those who are athletes or who are on a team, and for those who are not, I hope you can still understand this. Imagine if you were on a team and the season is about to start and you guys are doing conditioning, but you only do one practice for 1 hour, and that's it. You don't practice anymore for the season. The only thing you guys do after that one practice, you show up a few minutes before the game and get going. Now, I don't know how successful that can be. I don't know if I've seen that, but I have never seen that. So I don't know how that would go. The point is, when you practice, each time you start to memorize the drills, you start to memorize the plays, and you start to get better, and you start to look for more. You start to discover new things after repeating the same steps, repeating the same practice. And it's the same thing with our lives. We have to understand practice, first of all, means taking action. You're going out to take action to improve your craft, improve yourself physically and mentally and all other aspects. So in the same thing, you need to practice training yourself by taking action. And I hope that you have listened enough where I can have trained your mindset to shift your perspective to think differently, right? And by that I mean learning that everything that you learn, absolutely everything, and I hope that up to right now that you're able to develop this perspective. If not, then I will mention it again in hopes for you, for this mindset to stick within you, that whenever you learn something, whenever you take in some information, whenever you're learning something, that you ask yourself immediately, how can I apply this, or what action can I take on this today for this to be reality, for this to be made true, or who can I share this with today, because that's a method and a factor that you can take to bring that to life, to take action. That's a step that you can take, an action step, right? So immediately that's what you should be thinking, is how can I take action on this? Because you won't get very far if you only keep things inside your head, if you only keep things knowledgeable. I mentioned this a long time ago, that a vision without execution is just a hallucination. That's something that I heard a long time ago. And I hope that impacts you guys, and I want that to sit with you. A vision without execution is just a hallucination. So eventually, if you have a vision, if you want to get better, it's going to take you to execute that and to take action. So everything that you listen to, even this right now, that you ask yourself, how can you apply this, and what action can you take today? What kind of steps can you take today to make this a reality, to make what you're listening a reality? And you can pause this right now for you to take a few seconds to ask yourself that. And also, as I was mentioning, practice is a continuous thing, right? So the same thing with your life. It's not a one-time transaction. It's a continuous withdrawal that you're making. It's a continuous investment that you're making over and over again. So in yourself, when you're practicing and you're training yourself, it's a continuous thing. This is where the consistency comes in. It's learning how to continuously invest in yourself, whether it's you planning and using your planner to keep yourself organized, or you write down things that you need to do throughout the week or throughout the month to help you stay on track, stay on top of it, whatever it is. Think of it like practice, where you got to go back to it and revisit it over and over again. You got to keep going at it, and keep attacking it. And it's a recurring thing. It's something that keeps coming up, keeps going, keeps moving. And that's how you have to practice training yourself. And a very powerful principle that I learned was to learn by doing. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. When I first started my job, and I was working in a warehouse, it impacted me because the training is so different, especially with the company that I worked for, because I learned that like the training, it was like one day, and then they already threw you to do that for the next day, and you're like on your own doing it. And it's actually a part of the actual training. So at first I was like, okay, maybe that's the way that that specific trainer teaches. And then I learned, because I later went into that role, that's just how the modules are, like how the trainer has to train the people on the team that are new, that are coming on, that you literally will say to the team, watch me, and then everybody will watch and see what they're doing, and they'll do it for a few minutes. Then after they're done showing, then they'll explain, and they'll tell them, exactly what they're doing, and they'll break everything down step by step. Once they're done doing that, then they throw everybody on and they start doing it. Even if they mess up along the way, they just say, all right, now do it. And then they correct mistakes that might come up, so on and so forth, and teach along the way. And that impacted me so much. And it's a principle that I think is so important. And that's learn by doing. And that's like what I was mentioning earlier, is learning to take action. Like when you learn something, do it. Like just learn to just do it, so that you can, like Nike, so that you can learn how to move forward, because eventually you'll have to learn how to practice that and bring that to life. So in your passion right now, if you're seeking to be consistent and learning how to build this self-discipline, something that's so important is that you develop that, and you learn by doing, learn by taking action, learn by moving forward. When you take something in and you learn something new, practice it and keep doing it, because that's the only way you're going to be able to know whether you're doing good or not doing good. Because if you're not doing good, then you can evaluate yourself and be like, okay, how can I get better in this? And that's where you discover how to be better. And then if you do good, then it's like, okay, I'm doing good. What can I do to be better? And you keep practicing it, and you keep working on that. The next word or phrase in that definition of discipline in itself is where it says to obey rules and behavior. And this is something that is so important. that really impacted me as well, because like me myself personally, I set rules so I don't fall off track. And like for example, before I start my day, before I like leave the house to go to work and do specific things, I build the habit that when I first wake up, like the very first thing I do is listen to a devotional, listen to an audio to help me get started with the day. Like encouragement, like I would listen to words of encouragement to start the day. I don't listen to anything else or do anything else. Like I don't even get out of my bed. Like even this morning, like as I'm recording this very morning, I woke up, I went to my phone, opened the app that I use, and I just started to play the devotional, play those words of encouragement, started listening to it. And once the audio was done, then I sat down and I started to read the actual text and the verses that were provided. And I build the habit of doing that because it helps me get in the right mind and get in the right mindset for the day, and it really like changes the way my day goes. And a perfect example of this is there was one day that I was recording. This was like an episode like months ago. I think it was probably from season 1 that I remember it so perfectly because it was so funny. I was setting up and everything, and like setting up the equipment, and as I was setting up, I didn't do my morning routine. So I was like, because it was early and I needed to rush because I had to go places. I had to go somewhere. So I was kind of like rushing. So I was setting up quick. I didn't do my morning routine. And then I forgot, I was like missing something. And I was missing, I don't remember what it was exactly, but I was missing an important like piece to the equipment to like plug everything in or something. I don't remember what it was, but I was like going crazy looking for it. I was like, where is this thing? And I was freaking out because obviously I need this to be able to record. If I didn't have that I wouldn't have been able to record, and I would have missed that episode, and I could not like miss that episode. I needed to stay consistent and stay on top of it. So I was freaking out, and I was like, oh my goodness. And in all this freaking out, it came to my mind and to my, like, it just landed, the thought landed in my head that I was like, okay, you need to take a deep breath. So I took a deep breath, and I was like, okay, I haven't done my morning routine. So I decided to take a step back. I like went to myself in meditation and in prayer. I connected. I did my morning routine, and I was relaxed. And I'm not even joking or exaggerating. As soon as I finished my meditating, as soon as I finished getting myself in the right mind, I looked right in front of me, and what the piece I was missing was right there. Not even exaggerating. Like, it was right there. And I was like, did I really not look at that? It was so crazy. And that's just like an example of why it's so important for you to stick to the rules you set out. So I want to ask you, what rules do you need to set out for yourself? Or what kind of behavior do you need to represent? Think about that. Think about who you want to represent, whatever your passion is, or whatever you want to grow in. What rules do you think you need to set out for yourself in order to stay on top of that? Think about those rules right now. And then also think about what kind of behavior do you want to represent? Like, who do you want to see yourself being? Like, what kind of person do you want to see yourself become? And what do you want to represent? And whatever that is, ask yourself, what kind of rules do you need to set out to represent that and to be that exact thing? And you do those, you set out those rules so that way you don't only do things when you feel like it. And this is something that I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I wanted to stick with you, that if you wait to do something only when you feel like it, you will never get anything done. I want that to resonate with you. If you only wait to do something when you feel like it, you will never get anything done. That's how we grow, and that's how we climb that mountain, is by us continually climbing. Even when we face pain, even when we find struggle, is learning how to push forward in that and grow and continually going, even when we don't feel like it. That's why those rules will be in place. That's why you set out that behavior in place, because it's going to push you to commit to that goal, commit to it, even when you don't feel like it. So that when you don't feel like it and you feel those moments of struggle that will come, you can remind yourself that, no, in these moments exactly, I need to continue to push forward. And then the very last word in that definition of discipline is punishment. And I kind of want to take this moment to kind of flip that word around. I want to change the word punishment for reward. And I'll tell you why. The other day, or a few weeks ago, my friends and I, my close friends, they're married, and we have a group chat with each other, and they decided they wanted to, they really wanted to live a healthier lifestyle, and they shared with us, that they want us to be able to hold each other accountable and see if we wanted to live a healthier lifestyle, which obviously we do. So we developed a plan where we would constantly put things in our group chat to see what we're eating, what we're drinking for the day, and we get to hold each other accountable for like the things that we eat, the things that we do, to make sure that we're getting better. And when we don't, and when we mess up, then we give each other a punishment, right? So then I remember one day that my friend's his wife, they like got food for her at her job or something in the morning, and she was like tempted. She was like, I don't know if I should get it. And then her husband, it was like, if you do it, then your punishment will be a 30-minute jog, right? So then I was like, you know what? And I like quote replied to his message, and I was like, let's change that. Let's change punishment to reward. So your reward will be a 30-minute jog if you eat that specific thing, like eat that thing that's not good for you. Your reward will be a 30-minute jog. So the reason why I like mentioned that is because I want you to think about that in that sense. Obviously, it doesn't mean like, oh yeah, I'm gonna mess up so that I can, reward myself. No, it's like a punishment / reward. So think about those things. Like, what kind of reward will you give yourself when you don't follow your rules, when you don't follow the behavior that you're seeking out to? So it wouldn't be punishment, because then in your mind it'll sit into your mind, and then you'll think like, oh man, like I gotta do this, and then you're punishing yourself. So it gives you a negative mindset on that. So I want to change that to reward, and I want you to think about it in the sense that you're going to be doing something that will help you stay obedient to your rules that you set out, to the behavior that you set out, so that you can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So what kind of reward will you set out for yourself to make sure that you can correct that disobedience to yourself, to the action that you want to take, and set those things out, like write those things out right now. I'll give you like 3 seconds. I'll give you those 3 seconds so that you can stop and do that. And I want you to realize, like, things get easier. Something that I mentioned with my team last week, that we were talking about this, and we were talking about commitment. We talked about how sometimes it gets hard, like it's really hard to be able to get better and to commit to a certain thing. And what I told them is what I want to leave with you, that I've shared with you as well before. And please let this sink in with you. I want you to understand that it gets easier. The hard part is that you have to do it every day, but it does get easier. Let that sink in with you. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to commit to, the rules you set out, the self-discipline that you want to develop, understand that the only hard part is that you have to do it every single day. That's the hardest part. You just have to commit to doing it every single day, growing and discipline yourself to do it every single day. And it will get easier. And the only hard part is that you have to do it every day. So I hope this has helped you guys. And if you want to listen to more, or want me to dive more into this topic, you guys can DM me, and I'm free. I'm so happy to engage into more topics like this, and to engage in with you guys as well. So you guys can follow me on all my social media. You can follow me on Instagram at Go M.A.D official, or on my page at Chris Go M.A.D. You can also if any of this equipment you're interested in, you can, in the link in the description, you can sign up for any of them, and it helps the podcast out. Even if you click that link and don't buy exactly my equipment, but purchase anything on Amazon, it helps our podcast grow as well. So I hope this has helped you guys out. And when you continue to invest in yourself and help yourselves grow and be your best self, so that you can show others how to do the same, we can all go mad. I'll catch you guys in the next one.